Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is said to have many different saga-wide implications as well as revelations in this film by director J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio. This is Mike Zero. If you guys are new to the channel, do make sure to subscribe to see future Star Wars content. Now, one thing about Episode 9 that a lot of fans are really excited about is how J.J. Abrams is going to be bringing back lightsaber duels, space battles, and land battles to a certain extent that we have never seen before in a Star Wars movie, which means it's really going to be very action-packed and it's going to be a whole lot more bigger than before in the past 8 Star Wars movies, which I think is something a lot to look forward to because we do know that J.J. is really pouring his heart and soul into this film. Now, these past couple of weeks or so, we've been learning a whole lot more about this movie, and when it all comes down to one of the concept art descriptions, this is where things begin to get very exciting between both Kylo Ren and Rey. Now, specifically, shot descriptions consisting of moments between both Kylo Ren and Rey engaging in a lightsaber duel in the middle of a large First Order battlefield, where one of the moves that Rey is able to perform is a backflip where she kicks Kylo Ren's chin, causing her to get some space from Kylo Ren and stand her ground. The sequence is said to progress to a moment in which their lightsabers lock together, where the environment begins to shift around them, where they are now fighting on the landing pad over the city of Coruscant. In the middle, it's described to be a high-rise lightsaber duel that overlooks a cityscape at night, as they are both making powerful strikes against each other, one of which causes Rey to fall down and is hanging on the edge of the landing pad over Coruscant, where her saber is around 20 feet away. Kylo is said to attempt to grab it, however is unsuccessful, where Rey is able to force grab it before he does, which leads to where Rey jumps back into the battle, where lots of prequel trilogy choreography is exchanged during their fight, which brings them both to a moment in which they lock blades together once again and are brought back to the First Order battlefield. So I want to go over a couple of parts about this because we do know that J.J. Abrams is going to be using a lot of prequel trilogy content in order to really embed this movie into the prequels and the originals in a very specific and unique way, and this by far is on the top of the list. Now, a lot of people have been expressing their mixed reactions on flash fights and how it's going to be utilized in this movie. Honestly, we got our very first look at it in the art book of The Rise of Skywalker, the cover that we got a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if you guys saw it, but we did get to get a little glimpse at what the flash fights are going to look like, and let me tell you, it looks pretty interesting for sure. Now, the whole entire concept by J.J. Abrams of bringing them back to Coruscant not only is a beautiful way to bring us back to the very ending of Return of the Jedi, but it's also a great way to bring us back to the prequel trilogy era, because Coruscant was a bigger, location in the prequels, obviously, than it was in the originals, and only had a little small scene at the end of Return of the Jedi. So the thing that I really gotta say that I really love about all of this is that we also know that George Lucas handpicked various and numerous different worlds to appear in these flash fights between both Rey and Kylo. So in case you guys did not know, George Lucas had a huge role in the decision, right? The decision-making process of which planets would make it to the flash fights in Episode 9. Now, how do I feel about flash fights? Well, I will say, I will be honest with each and every one of you that I think it's a real fresh thing for the franchise, but at the same exact time, it's all a matter of how it's going to be executed and edited all together, and how the music's going to go along with it and everything around those lines to the point where it will resonate with fans. It really does take a lot of work in order to make things, work correctly like this. Now, the part that I do want to go over specifically here is how Rey is actually using a lot of prequel trilogy choreography against Kylo Ren. So that's another thing that's great about this movie when it comes to the lightsaber duels, is that we do know that prequel trilogy choreography is going to be a main focus when it comes to the lightsaber battles between both Rey and Kylo. And I think that when we look at Episode 9, the fact that they are using a lot of the prequel trilogy choreography, it just shows that JJ is really trying to create a different vibe of Star Wars in Episode 9. He's trying to give it a different tone by mixing prequel elements, original elements, as well as introducing original content from the sequels that we have never seen before. And I gotta say, it really does sound like that this movie is going to be the best of the sequel trilogy. I know a lot of you guys out there may have doubts about that, but my gut feeling is telling me that this movie is going to be the new Revenge of the Sith of our time. What I mean by that is, if you look at Revenge of the Sith, I think it's pretty safe to say, by a majority of fans, that a lot of people would agree that Revenge of the Sith is the best film of the prequel trilogy era, from start to finish pretty much, right? So, like I say guys, I'm very excited to see what the flash fights are going to look like on the big screen, how it's actually going to look in motion, you know, how it's going to transition from planet to planet, where they keep constantly going back to the First Order battlefield and the Death Star 2 wreckage and other locations throughout the galaxy. It pretty much seems at this point that these are simulations of certain worlds from the past and that they're not actually going there. Anyways guys, drop a comment below, let me know what you think about all of this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon, we hear them moans again.